My name is Roland MÖNIG, and I have the honor of running the Heydt Museum in Wuppertal since more than 6 years now. The Heydt Museum is among the major city collections in Germany, communal collections, as opposed to stately collections. As a municipal collection, it is fairly deep and fairly broad, with some 2,300 paintings plus 700 sculptures, some 30,000 works on paper, etc., etc., and has its focus on classical modernism, actually starting with French Impressionism. The museum was among the first in Germany to buy French Impressionist art around the turn of the 19th century to the 20th century. And the collection then moves on towards contemporary art. GROSSBERG played a major role with at least a number of paintings addressing industry, machine, the modern life in the cities, with the important point being that he would always depict the architecture, the machines, the factories, whatsoever, but he would almost regularly do without any figures, without any human appearances in his scenes. They are devoid of persons. Usually they are empty, and their emptiness does something to our understanding of the scenery. I think this is part of his achievement, being very objective, very precise in depicting the scenery, but at the same time giving us a feeling of eeriness, of something weird, of something you can't catch, of something that makes you just feel uneasy. When we talk about a succession of styles or movements, we make ourselves life very easy. Historical reality isn't like that. We used to think about expressionism being the defining movement before the First World War, at least in Germany, and perhaps during the First World War. And then after the First World War, New Objectivity is the next movement. Actually, if you look closely, they are linked with one another. You can't have the one without the other. It may be an opposition, but there's also an undercurrent which connects them. Just to mention that Bauhaus was the place where Carl GROSSBERG was educated. And Bauhaus, when it started in 1919, was expressionist in its attitude. Also, if you think about the manifesto by Walter Gropius, illustrated by Lionel Feininger, it's an expressionist manifesto. But in the course of the 20s, very quickly, it became, if you like, objective. It became a matter of fact. It became as strict as opposed to the ornament, to every emotion as we know it. This whiteness, cleanliness, the straight lines. So this is connected. And when you observe GROSSBERG's work, you will experience the same. He is a wonderful draughtsman. He can use almost every style, every means in order to create a picture. He's a wonderful painter. And all these different layers, they, in a way, they relate to one another. He is, there is an expressionist attitude to him, especially in the early drawings at the Bauhaus, there's a cubist element to his work, and there's something phantasmagoric to his early work, very close to what Feininger is doing, which later reappears in the dream pictures, in the Traumbilder. Obviously, he was a very fragile personality, highly sensitive, vulnerable, and actually deeply struck by the First World War, where he experienced, as everyone who took part, the most terrible things, being buried in a trench among them. This got him depressions all his life long. Mm. And this accounts for his sensitivity also in his painting, I think. What GROSSBERG is able to do with his fantastic pencil, which can give you almost every shade of gray and black, is once again questioning reality as a concept, questioning reality on its very base. If you remember, there works in the show, drawings of machines, a factory producing printing machines. And the machines are so present that you almost think you can switch them on. But suddenly, the background drops into another world, into another dimension, and you can't really control this background. You can't understand what's happening there. There are shadows, there are a few more constructive elements that may belong to another machine, or are they just imagined? And when you compare, this is another comparison that we offer our audience, when you compare pictures like these, drawings like these by GROSSBERG with contemporary photography of industrial plants, you see that there's more to it, that he is able to add something to this photographic point of view that a photographer could never reach. I think his sensitivity for color has a lot to do with expressionist approaches to art, were of course fostered by Lionel Feininger, Paul Klee, and Johannes Itten, by whom he went at school, with whom he took classes. And he is, when it comes to color, he is really a magician. I think this is part of the visionary quality of his work. His paintings usually are very simplified as to structure. He straightens out every line. He clears the shapes of things extremely, leaves out details in order to have the opportunity of filling these surfaces, these areas, with bright and brilliant colors, colors which relate to reality, but on the other hand, go beyond reality. One of his huge successes was a wallpaper. It was a commission done for a wallpaper factory close to Hanover in northern Germany. And he created 77 hues of color, perfectly balanced with one another, that you could just order pret-à-porter. You could just order it directly from the factory, and it would turn your home into kind of pastel painting, a pastel picture. also lost is a big commission that he did for the architect Erich Mendelsohn in Berlin. A big movie theater, the Universum Kino. Mendelssohn, who is among the most important, be it expressionist or international style architects at the time, he created the architecture, and the interior with its colors, again, its colors, was designed by Carl GROSSBERG in commission for Erich Mendelsohn, and got high appraisal for this the emotions, for the atmosphere that these colors conveyed. This is a painting that you could address as the summing up of all of GROSSBERG's work, all of the topics, the motives that he was concerned with during the last 10 years. This is created in 34, as you know, are in this painting. But still, it is a commission. It is a maquette, a preparatory work for a huge wall painting for a fair in Berlin, a huge hall, and the painting, when executed, was 45 meters broad, a huge thing. And it was part of a, you see it here in the background, of a huge scenery, which was, by the way, created by Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. He was one of the artists also in the first year, this is 34, who tried to, in one way or another, arrange themselves with a regime who tried to get commissions. This speaks to the historical complexity, which we underestimate, I think, in hindsight. I mean, for us now, it's very easy. For the people involved at the time, it was very complicated just to find the ways. The game changer to me, in order to understand what was really happening to GROSSBERG and what was in his mind, is this painting. This is completely unique, not only in that there is a human figure right in front, a figure which asks the viewer to identify with, and which obviously also is another self-portrait of the artist, although you don't see the face. But it is also singular in its darkness, in its dystopian quality, with a burning sky, with menacing planes on it, and another plane there, or is it a bird of prey, a giant bird of prey, with modern architecture, but a modern architecture which is dystopic again, like in Metropolis by Fritz Lang, which is and there are monsters looking down at the figure, and there is this clamp, which really shows there's pressure, there is hopelessness. Also, the ways, the roads, they lead nowhere. They lead into darkness, the tunnel, or they lead into nothing. So it's an image full of threat, full of fear, and it's completely unique in the work of Carl GROSSBERG. And we have a date for this painting because we have the sketchbook where he prepared it, and you can see it was made around the turn of the years 1932 to 1933, the moment when the Nazis rose to power, when they got stronger and stronger by every election, until in January 1933, Adolf Hitler was appointed Chancellor of the German Reich. And this was a period of fear for GROSSBERG. He was really fearing for Germany, he was fearing for Europe, as he says, and he was fearing for himself and his family, and he fell into a deep depression. this drawing from the sketchbook, which contains the other preparatory drawings for this dream picture, this dystopic dream picture, with a machine balancing on a tightrope, the tightrope in a kind of desert landscape. And below, he wrote the date, 30th of January 1933, the very date when Adolf Hitler became Chancellor, and the title Seiltanzende Maschine mit Schatten, machine walking a tightrope with a shadow. And this is his confession as an artist to me.